The halls of Playtime Co. no longer ring with the sounds of children. What was once a massive toy manufacturing empire is now a brutal war zone where desperate, starving survivors fight each other over scraps just to stay functional. This devastation traces back to an event known as the Hour of Joy. The facility is now ruled by the Prototype, a makeshift amalgamation of mechanical parts and toy remains. He maintains his authority through an iron claw of fear, demanding strict obedience and punishing any sign of dissent with clinical efficiency. Looking at this rusted wasteland, we have to ask how an environment built specifically for children's happiness could evolve into such a flawless architecture of horror. The answer lies in the factory's foundational design. This devastation is the calculated result of a highly engineered system of control that was built into the facility long before the toys ever turned against their creators. To find the root of that system, we have to shift our focus downward, deep into the hidden, subterranean laboratories where the original trauma of the factory occurred. This is where we find Ollie, the CEO's young son. To his father, Ollie was never just a child. He was a corporate asset to be tested, conditioned, and perfected. This clinical schematic shows a human boy's anatomy being mapped directly onto mechanical toy blueprints. The CEO used extreme psychological conditioning and endless physical surgeries to strip away the boy's humanity, ensuring he would follow every corporate rule without question. Eventually, the abuse reached a breaking point. Ollie's mind fractured under the weight of the experiments, leaving only the entity known as the Prototype in his place. The Prototype's current reign of terror is a direct manifestation of this inherited trauma. The abuse was simply passed from the human creator into his manufactured creation, setting a precedent for every toy in the factory. Once the Prototype seized power, he weaponized his own victimization. He used his deep-seated trauma to justify a brutal takeover, enforcing the absolute control he had once been subjected to. This hierarchy illustrates the chain of control. Power flows downward from the CEO, through the Prototype, to the lesser toys. Notice the lowest tiers. The bottom nodes turn red, aggressively connecting. Toxic leadership infects the lower ranks, prompting outcasts to turn on each other. The toys fought a bloody rebellion to win their freedom, but they ended up replicating the abusive power structures of their human captors. Playtime Co functions as a closed-loop ecosystem of abuse. By forcing the population to compete for scraps and validation, the leadership ensures the subjects remain perpetually divided and easy to rule. The conflict escalates when the human CEO returns to reclaim the facility, deploying a mechanized force to physically conquer the remaining survivors. This schematic details the living battery protocol. Energy flows outward from a biological toy core to power the mechanical limbs. The CEO captures the smiling critters, shoving them into these metal chests as a living energy source for his robotic enforcers. When hijacked by these mechs, the captured critters experience a total loss of autonomy. They remain aware, but are completely unable to stop their own violent actions. This exposes a sharp difference in tactics. While the Prototype relies on psychological manipulation to guide his followers, the CEO opts for an immediate physical override of the toys' bodies. Whether it is achieved through emotional conditioning or literal mechanical cages, the ultimate currency of Playtime Co. is the destruction of free will. The stakes hit their peak when the few remaining free toys finally breach the CEO's stronghold for a final confrontation. But the CEO unveils his ultimate defense mechanism, catnap. The toy's formidable leader has been subdued and weaponized against his own friends by a glowing mind control apparatus strapped to his head. Facing their corrupted leader, the toy rebellion initially fails. Instead of working together, the fighters let their individual egos take over, launching disjointed, ineffective attacks in an attempt to prove their own strength. This failure exposes a core vulnerability. The factory's power structure relies on fostering this exact type of isolation among its subjects, training them to compete rather than cooperate. Individual heroics are useless against a systemic problem. Acting alone is exactly what the system was engineered to exploit. Realizing their strategy is failing, the remaining toys make a crucial tactical pivot. They abandon their rivalries in favor of a synchronized, multi-pronged assault. This requires precise coordination. The team splits up, with some members drawing the attention of the mind-controlled catnap, while the others slip past the perimeter defenses to reach the control panel. To deactivate the helmet without harming the host, the toys must manually rewire the junction box, matching green to red, severing the blue connection, and binding the purple and white strands to trigger the kill switch. Disabling the helmet results in the immediate restoration of Catnap's autonomy. This turns the tide of the battle, bringing their most powerful ally back to their side, and stripping the CEO of his primary defense. In a hierarchy built by tyrants to demand total isolation, the only unbreakable rebellion is unity. By choosing shared free will over individual glory, the toys finally break the cycle of control.